Thank you.
Hey, good to see you. How's
Good
it
to
going?
see you.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's okay. We haven't even really started yet, so
I'm really
you're all
sorry.
good. It's all good.
Great to see you.
I wanted to commemorate the introduction again. Fuck yeah. I love that he's wearing his rock and roll high school shirt today.
Yeah, me too.
No one has said anything about my video turns.
Well, you should mention it.
Yeah.
That it's a picture or a moving picture?
Moving. I think it's already moving, right?
Yeah, it's moving.
Is it on? Yeah. Let's move with it.
Move with it, baby.
I'm hugging my other camera like it's Paris Hilton and her dog.
Yeah. It do be like that.
Yeah. And I'm Lindsay Denniberg.
Lindsay Denniberg is back there with the camera.
Yeah.
This is Video Diary of a Lost Girl, Lindsay Denniberg's feature film directorial debut from, what year is this?
2012 it came out.
2012.
Yeah.
So, the Mayan calendar was correct.
Mm-hmm.
Something significant did happen. Anyway, so this is Lindsay's film that we are both graduates of University of Central Florida. We're both film BFA students. We took a lot of classes in this classroom. A lot of classes with Mary Sandler. Yeah, so after we made a lot of films together here at UCF, some of which are included on the American Genre Film Archive Blu-ray of the film. But that's not why we're here tonight. We're here for this film, which is Lindsay's movie. It was her baby, and it began here at UCF.
Yeah, in Barry's class. So, you want to talk about that a little bit?
You talk.
I like when other people talk, but yeah, no, I'm sure you guys are familiar with Barry's screenwriting class. It goes on for a year, and I was really excited to take a class with Barry, and something that lasted that long, and might as well write a feature. And like, I had the kernel of the idea for Video Diary, and I talked about it a lot with Chris during the writing process. And, you know, it was just great getting feedback, and it's like people were laughing, you know, while they read the script, and it was just like, I think I wrote like the first 20 pages or so, you know, and those kind of stayed the same as it went on. So, it was awesome.
Yeah, and I think Lindsay wrote the film. I helped write the film. It was mostly Lindsay, and
You were my spitballer.
Yes.
Mostly. It wouldn't have been possible without Chris. I'm going to be straight.
So that being said, I think you're going to enjoy it because, like, even this film, it's a very visual experience. You know, there's abstraction. There's a lot of different types of formats and approaches and like reappropriation. Like, it's a film that formally is like, I think you'll be pretty impressed, hopefully surprised, like it's fairly wild. But even that started with writing. You know, like it started on the page.
Yeah.
This movie, which I think is very interesting. And it was an idea that you kind of were kicking around for a while. You went to graduate school, and then you began to flesh it out. And you were in like a video art program, basically.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was talking to Jimmy recently about this, how UCF was much more like, at the time, more interested in just doing narrative. Experimental wasn't like cool enough, I guess. And then SCIC was the complete opposite. Like, it was like only experimental. Narrative is for suckers. So somewhere it's a medium that I'm trying to.
We always want to be a rebel, you know, like that's more fun.
I do have a cause.
Yeah. So we talked about it, and I thought it would be interesting if you did a feature film that was narrative, because it's my belief that the most impressive things to me are the things that can like be like kind of very entertaining and also very boundary pushing at the same time. Like, to me, I'm like, if you can really hit that, that's something special. And I knew that you could do that. So I'm like, why don't you take a lot of the experimentation you've done, which had started at UCF in our capstones. We both had made films that used a lot of different types of formats, structural things, VHS, 8mm, 16mm, and this expanded that with the heavy use of green screen, model making.
First time using green screen in this. All the other films we made here never touched green screen, or even color correction, really.
Yeah.
Like.
So this came out, and it kind of was like, came out into a little bit of, some people noticed, but nothing super huge happened with it at first.
And I didn't really have money to submit to many festivals. Like,
yeah.
I submitted to Sundance and Sundance, neither of them took it. But every festival that I asked to have a waiver for, you know, like, or at least like 25% of them, like, hey, I don't have money, do you want this? You know, and 25% of them took it. And some of those film festivals aren't around anymore, but
Yeah, but eventually it played a lot of places around the world, which was like very exciting for us. But no distribution, and it kind of like was dormant for a while until our friend Christina Cassiopo, who's a programmer, and she worked heavily with Alamo Drafthouse in their like early days. She was really a champion of the film, and she got back in touch with us. She's like, hey, it's like the 10-year anniversary. And she's like, can we do a screening?
It's funny, I thought you had like a secret conversation with her or something.
I mean, I was always talking to her. I lived in New York for a long time, and I would run into her, and
she looks like Agnes Varda, young Agnes Varda.
Good detail. But anyway, so I've run into her all the time. But she wanted to do the screening. We did the screening. People really liked the film after all this time. Maybe it was like time for it. And then American Genre Film Archive, who does really great stuff. They do a lot of really beautiful releases of bizarre, homemade, some bigger stuff, you know, films. They do a really nice job. They did the Blu-ray with us, and it's really, I think,
it was a dream come true.
They really did something special with it. So that's where we are now. Fast forward, we're here at UCF to finish Lindsay's next film, which is very much in a similar style to Video Diary. We're doing the sound design with your one and only Jimmy Schaus.
Sarah back there wrote it and starred it.
Yeah, I wrote it. Sarah wrote it. And another UCF alumni, Phil Cherniak, also wrote the script. And that was filmed quite a while ago now too. Yeah.
Well, that one ended up being like so effects heavy, like more than I was like even thinking it would be. So it's just like, okay, lean into it. It's going to be like really dense movie. It's going to be what it is.
Yeah, more so than even this. So when you see this, the next one's going to be more than this. But we're here to finish it, and it's a really exciting time. And like, you know, it was like definitely a struggle, but I mean, particularly for you. But you held on, and like, you know, good things have happened. And I'm really proud to be a part of it. You know, and I'm really excited for the next one.
Yeah.
I just want to say that you're both extremely talented people, and, you know, and it's great to see that talent come to fruition and to be recognized. And you do us proud.
Thank you
And
very
we love
much.
Cracks of Passion.
I mean,
It's great.
Well, I mean, like, we were really lucky. We had Barry, we had Christopher Harris, who, if you haven't seen his films, he's a great guy, brilliant artist, and people that were willing to push us, like, both on the page and aesthetically as well, you know, and they created monsters, you know. And, like, this film is a lot of that. You know, there's some Crimes of Passion in this. There's some eyeballing. You know, so there's a little bit of everything. But thank you very much for coming and watching the film. And if you have any questions afterwards, we'll be around.
What's the runtime on it?
95 minutes, I believe.
Let's see. What is it? 96 minutes.
Oh, that's close.
So take a look and see what you think. I don't know how to set it up here, but
No,
anyway.
you did a good job.
Thank you very much.
No, cheers.
I'll start with one.
Okay.
But I guess I was curious because this was like your debut and like you were young at the time, and there's so much.
What are you
like,
saying?
No, I'm curious about the process. There's so much sex in it, and I'm just curious like how you approach directing that stuff, like and
It's
being
hard.
comfortable with it.
I think I'm
It's
more
just interesting
comfortable
because
than them.
it's such a huge part of the film is like all this intimate stuff, and I'm just curious like how you direct people like that, especially for the first time.
Yeah, what is it? This wasn't the first sex scene I shot, so, what is it? The movie I came to get in here, which Chris has seen, is called Coming Attractions. It's a little silly, you know, but it was all about how having sex is like going to the movies, and it was like a very erotic, romantic, you know, sex scene. So, but you can't see anything detailed, so. And then I just got hooked to nudity, I think. Yeah, I felt like it made it got more street cred, I think, and I just liked it, you know.
But they push things. I mean, a lot of the films that Lindsay made in film school had like a lot of nudity
Oh, yeah.
and a lot of sex,
Mhm.
and I was often involved in that sex,
Yeah, sure.
fake sex,
Or filming it.
Yeah, we're filming it, and I think, I don't know, it's something like.
Well, you had sex in your movie too. I think you.
Yeah,
Sex Machine
yeah,
2025
yeah. Like I
inspired
think it's
you.
part of like the kind of just like our influences, you know, and things like we're both like really love like Catherine like Braylat and like bonded on like Anatomy of Hell and like that film's treatment of like menstrual blood and like
awesome.
sexuality and like I don't know. I felt like
And she also has a porn star in it, like unsimulated sex scene. I thought that was just awesome.
yeah. So I think we were trying to be like very open to like sexuality in the films, and it does. I mean, it sucks. Like I don't actually really like love doing that stuff, but like it was like. I think at that time, I think the conversation about it seems to have changed a bit, but like at that time it was like kind of like,
It was a little taboo.
yeah, it was kind of like, okay, we're just gonna do it, you know, like, and I want to see a film like this, or at least be a part of a film like this, so I'll do this. But I think that, like, I don't know, like it was just, for me, that's where I'm coming from. Where I'm like, I believe in like the kind of like total freedom of the artist, so I'm gonna do it, and I believe in you, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it. And I think for you, it is part of your, like just your themes, because you're dealing so much with themes about like women, their bodies, their blood, and like sex is part of that. So I think that.
Yeah. Don't make it scary.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because the mermaid movie we made, which is the first movie you and I did where I started experimenting with the visuals the most, and a lot of that is like from Chris, and I can even trace it back. You told me stuff that you learned in Chris Harris's class that I didn't take, you know, and that kind of fed into the collaborative process because he was a cinematographer, and I was just like, it's really hard because I want Chris to shoot and star in it all the time, so I have to always. But you did it on Killer Makeover.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, so
But as far as the sex and the intimacy, I feel like it's like, it's also something you have that I feel like is a kind of, something that, like more mainstream films and things like that, like, yeah, they will touch sometimes, but it's a way for you to put, like, express, like, your difference in a certain way, where you're like, no, this is a movie that has intimacy, this is a movie that has sex, penises, you know, maybe vaginas, like, you know, all kinds of nudity, and you're like, this, and it's still funny, and it's still cute, and it's still experimental, so, I don't know.
you got it.
I don't have a great answer, but that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. No, the first draft, which I did in Barry's class, like, she wasn't named Louise, she was named Carly for some reason. And then I got the Louise Brooks angle. So with the writing, it kind of, like, Chris and I were roommates at the time, and, you know, we would just spitball ideas, and I pitched this to him. He's like, that's a great idea. And then he's like, you ever seen ROCKULA? I'm like, no, I haven't. You know? So,
Yeah.
And then My Demon Lover, and then I got hooked in that. Because when I wrote, like, Video Diary with him, I didn't even think it was going to look like this. I thought it was going to look more like Smithereens or kind of more normal looking.
Yeah,
you know?
like a more like, just rough, independent, kind of lo-fi punk movie. But I think the actual writing was like, I mean,
Over the phone.
like the story is Lindsay and like the beats and everything. I'm very much a dialogue person. So like we would just like talk on the phone. Like you'd have a scene, you'd have an idea for a scene. Sometimes we'd talk it through. We would kind of like riff the dialogue.
Yeah, a lot of
You know?
good one-liners are definitely Chris's. So
But a lot of them are yours for sure. I mean, like
when we're like, idiot.
yours is the best line, which is this is titties and ass for people with good taste.
Yeah, I wrote that in Barry's class.
Yeah.
So, and I remember Barry really liking the character of Michael, who originally was actually kind of meant to be someone like Barry or John Waters, someone older, but like my friend Casey plays it, and he's also the cinematographer for a lot of it, so he's everywhere.
But that writing, I mean, like, I think that but it was more complex when Lindsay first presented it to me. It was like, there was a lot of other things. There was like Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
There was like everything.
Yeah, there
And
was
I
like
think it had to be
scene-
kind of pared down
Yeah.
to something more, somewhat more focused. Focus is not the right word.
Distilled.
Doable. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And also, I feel like going to SAIC, it's like all those ideas are everywhere, but then having the deadline and looking around and seeing what I could like steal or whatever to make, you know, this. So it was just kind of, you know, it got sculpted through like the reality of having to shoot it and all the craziness. So that went on. Yeah, and those were some of my favorite times. The middle scene is like the nucleus, I think, of the movie, or not the middle scene, the one in the video store where she meets Charlie again. You know, he's stealing the tapes. That was like, because originally Charlie, like, you know, thank God, Chris like really wrote Charlie, you know, just by being himself. But like, oh, I'm blanking. What is it? You go ahead. I'm gonna think about what I'm gonna say.
Well, anyway, no,
Yeah.
it's just yeah. So like through the doing, I mean, I think when you're working like this too, it's like writing and making, like it changes a lot. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of what you can do, what you can't do. Things have to change, like on the fly. I mean, like Lindsay like loves Rocky, so she's just like, oh, you know, they went there and they had to shoot the scene with the ice skating rink or whatever, and it's like that's like the whole fucking movie. But
Yeah,
like,
that to me. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that the writing happens. We did the story's hers, structure's hers. We did a lot of the dialogue together, and then even from there, things had to change with the realities of it.
Oh, I just remember that's what it was. So Charlie originally was going to be a film professor.
Oh no.
Yeah, and it was just like, this guy isn't fun. He's a little stuffy, and this is stupid, and you know. And it was I knew I wanted a grave robbing scene or something in the cemetery. I'm like, well, if he's a thief, and then that kind of went to, I'm like, well, if he's a thief in the other reality, and there's a mirroring. I like, that was my favorite part, you know, is kind of having the deja vu past and present, you know, moments. So.
Yeah. And I think it works well.
Thank you. Yeah, does anyone else have a question? Do you have another one?
Yeah.
Well, this gentleman.
Oh yes, you have to wait.
I will.
Okay. I mean, well, I probably should have thought about how I'm gonna word it.
That's okay, I had a brain flip just then, so.
No, I mean, I apologize if it's too broad, but I guess like how did you conceive the whole visual presentation, and how did it like unfold? Like what informed the choices and
Yeah.
whatnot? Was it just experimentation on set, or like in the editing room, or just like?
I think it's like we all kind of knew like what kind of horror movie look, like especially with the non-green screen scenes, you know, kind of having it all green or all red,
Yeah.
you know, and honestly it was just the easiest way to light it too, so it made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like almost every scene is like almost a reference to a time gone and aesthetic and everything.
Yeah.
So, and then the green screen stuff was, I think I just kind of developed that aesthetic while I was at SAIC. I didn't really make stuff like that when I was here. I think I wanted to just like stop being ashamed that I love early Tim Burton so much and just lean into it. Yeah. So Beetlejuice and such. I don't know about Beetlejuice too, we'll see.
And then also the VHS stuff was like, you were very interested in VHS. Movies that were shot on VHS, which was like kind of coming back at that time. People were like...
You did one on VHS. I think Chris inspired me a lot. I did.
Yeah, I shot something on VHS. But I feel like it's, that was something where it's like, yeah, let's do VHS. And so then that automatically gives its own look. But then you say, okay, well, where are you going to employ that? That becomes the past.
Yeah.
You know, like things start to get a logic, you know, to them. And I think that you are very capable in a lot of different mediums, in a lot of different ways. It just was about finding where to put them. The things I'm most impressed by watching again is like the things that are purely you, which are like the pure abstraction, and like the things like melting together and like sperm and like you know solar flares and stuff like that. I mean, it's like that's very singular, I feel like, to you, and like you, in my opinion, really make it work, you know. But there's a lot of I feel like it's a lot of building blocks, probably, right? Like you're like this portion.
Lots of failures. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then this happens.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, layering, like the layering and kind of compositing stuff is actually something I started on the Wet Skin movie that me and Chris did, and it's a mermaid movie, and it's very much like Caroline, you know what, Fuses, Caroline Schneeman's Fuses was like the main influence.
Yeah.
You know, I just kind of, I watched that for a paper in Chris Harris's class, and it's everything clicked for me all of a sudden from that film. And then, you know, and more stamp package, and maybe Lloyd's right. So, yeah, and trying to think the specifics. Oh, Shelley Duvall, Fairy Tale Theater was, it was like, kind of like, what if Fuses wasn't a Shelley Duvall Theater episode or something?
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, go on YouTube, it's awesome. So, so that was for the mermaid movie, so I like kind of took that recipe and, you know, fucked up with it a little bit more. So, and I think I was very obsessed with Tony Orstler, but like I like his video installation stuff, but I was watching his kind of one channel like solo movies, which were installations, like it would look like a carnival almost, very Tim Burton looking, like he's always like the video art Tim Burton. And the look of the films are like abstract but have this cardboard, creepy, fake aesthetic that I loved. And then there's Stephen Sayadian, who did Cafe Flush and Caligari, and those are amazing films, so check those out.
But yeah, the Baroque fakeness, I think, is something you really, the Rococo
You know I like Rococo.
cheapness, yeah, you know.
Rococo's pretty. And so, does that make the answer it?
Yeah.
All right,
That
cool.
was great, thank you.
And you had another one.
I had a similar question,
Oh, okay.
but it was just like, there is just so much going on, like visually, and like so many layers of like digital. There were a few points where I was just like, you know, I was like, I can't even imagine what the raw footage of this shot looks like. There's a green screen, and there's insane color grading, and like 14 different like digital layers and stuff. And I
All
just- I
Final
don't
Cut
even
Pro
know
7.
what this looked like beforehand. Like it's just its own thing now. But I'm just kind of curious, like basically what's on screen right now actually is kind of what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Psychedelic sequences.
As it's going through it.
Mhm.
But like, I don't know, just what was the process of that? Like how much, I don't know, there's certain scenes where there's so much going on, or there's a lot of abstraction for like a couple minutes almost, and it's like, is that like planned? Was that in the
No.
script? Was that something you were thinking about shooting it? Like, I actually think what's playing is kind of like almost a full scene at the end, where it's like a bit of a montage.
Yeah.
I think this was during this episode.
Yeah, it's just like, right at the end, like
Yeah.
And
as
it's
she's
like-
dying or whatever.
Yeah, and it's this total like abstract like representation of what's happening. And I guess I'm just curious, like for the whole film, like when did that come about? Like was that in the editing room?
It's
'Cause
a
it seems
hybrid.
so just like vital to like
Awesome.
what the film is.
Yeah, was it, so it definitely, like, in the opening scene where it kind of shows, like, the credits pretty much.
Yeah.
You know, right after the Lilith scene where it goes into the credits. That was originally in the script. I kind of remember, like, I want it to be found footage porn and old movies mushed
Yeah.
together and everything, and, you know, that's really all the idea was. So when it gets to the editing room, I knew I really wanted to shoot things off the television or computer screen with the VHS. You know, a lot of the porn is done through that. And also don't want anyone to, you know, if they're not into it, they don't want to see themselves, it's just abstract. So, and yeah, so I always think it's more of a sculptural process. Like you kind of start with one thing, because in my head still, like I can still see the original movie in my head, and it looks so different than what happened here. So I don't know what happened, honestly.
No, the sculptural thing makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's very organic.
Yeah.
And then you find places where you need to go from one thing to another, and sometimes it's narrative and literal, and sometimes it is like just abstract, poetic, serving a similar function. You know
Well,
what I mean?
also,
Like,
this was your idea. Like a lot here is using VHS intros as part of
oh yeah,
the film, and
yeah.
like that kind of. At first, I was more like a pop out of nowhere kind of moment, you know. But then it kind of just blended into the rest of the film. So.
This is gonna be like very basic. I'm
That's
nowhere
okay.
near as smart as anyone else here. But like, what was the most like difficult thing, like effect or like scene or edit to like really like lock down?
Oh, which
like,
scene?
Yeah, kind of like that. Like, cause like, I found it like really interesting how like there was just so much like effects experimentation and everything. Like, it really was just like every like low budget thing that you could do. Like I noticed like stop motion with like the cables and stuff
Oh,
like
yeah.
that, which was really neat.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just like what was the most
Which was the shitty shoot day.
yeah.
Yeah, there's always one, and it was definitely anything that green screen was easy, but
Yeah.
it was that damn cemetery. Like
That was a pain in the ass.
yeah, I was not happy. I didn't even end up like there's so much effects on that because I really didn't like how it looked.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like even thinking about what the original footage, it looks boring the original footage and needed to be jazzed up. So and that was everyone's worst day, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's also it's also hard, like, you know, anything that involves blood, you know, is messy, you know, especially the quantities that like we wanted it in. It's different when like I interviewed Jeffrey Combs once and talked to him about working with Stuart Gordon, and after Stuart Gordon passed away, and he was just saying like when they were doing Reanimator, he was just like, all he remembers Stuart saying was more, like more blood, and they're just like more, and he's like yes. So, and that's a low budget movie, but it's still, they have people to clean it up. It's a set or whatever. Like when you want to really go crazy on something super, I mean, it doesn't get much smaller than this. Like. It is uncomfortable, you know. It is like, you know, I'm fucking covered in blood, and now I gotta be like, okay, I also have to help you pack the car. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like that's rough. You know what I mean? I think as far as like effects and stuff, you know, I can't speak to that as much because you make that really easy.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're good at it.
It's really just kind of like playing with the stuff, any footage I have, like. What is I do something like the process now is like a video sketchbook where I always have a separate final cut sequence to kind of like take a break from everything if I'm getting burned out, you know, and that's where I actually learn all this stuff, you know. It's just kind of free jazzing it, you know, for no one but me. So.
Nice.
Young lady. You have a question, young lady.
Yes, as the youngest person here, I have a question. I feel like romance can be a difficult thing to portray. Can you talk to us about how you develop the romance in your projects, and then maybe could you give us a few examples of cinematic romance that speak to you?
Speak to me now or for this movie?
Either.
Let's see. I think when Chris brought up ROCKULA, and he brought ROCKULA into my life, that definitely, like, whereas, like, this is a good romance. Even what I thought that movie was going to be before I saw it, like, the idea of that sounds perfect. You know, it gets me excited. And My Demon Lover is my favorite romantic comedy. So, Scott Valentine, what is it? And it's actually a lot like Video Diary, where he is a homeless guy who plays jazz on the in the subway or something.
You know, in his sax.
Yeah.
He gets
So
cursed.
like a guy to be really, you know.
I want a
Lindsay wants
dumbass.
him wants him down on their luck.
Oh, yeah, I want to nurse the bird back to health.
You might not. You should work that out a little bit, I think.
I'm in therapy, don't worry.
Okay, but I was gonna say, also, I guess obviously like Rocky. Like,
Rocky, because I was so surprised that
you like
it was a
dumb
romance.
guys.
Yeah, I do like dumb guys. So,
I mean, I do too, I get it.
well, the thing is, it's like with Charlie, I'm watching it later on, I'm like, oh my God, Chris isn't Charlie, I'm the dumbass, you know? Because I am like that.
Because it's not me, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it's like, I can do that, and like, I like those kind of characters, you know what I mean? Like, I like Scott Valentine, I like William Ragsdale, John Cusack, stuff like that. I'm like, can I like do something like that? But you know, it's definitely like a performance. You know, like I appreciate you saying that. You know, because like it kind of is you. Like even certain things where you're like,
Cats on the bag.
have me saying like babe and stuff like that. I'm like, that's not me.
No,
you know what I mean?
yeah. I don't even know why I wanted to say babe so much.
Because it's like Beetlejuice.
Oh wait, no. What's his name? Scott Valentine, My Demon Lover, does the babe thing a lot, and Beetlejuice, yeah.
I think it's hard to make people seem like they genuinely like each other. You know?
Yeah, what is it? Beetlejuice was like my first crush, so.
Wow.
I still is.
Wow.
Yeah. I got a red wedding dress in my closet. I'm waiting.
Wow. You heard it here first, folks. But yeah.
But any other romances? Really like Douglas Sirk romances.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And Fassbender doesn't have any romances, but I like his stuff.
How about something happy? How about a happy romance?
Well, me and Sarah back there were talking about The Mirror Has Two Faces earlier. I love that movie. Barbara Streisand and Jeff Bridges, and kind of no one watched it when it came out, so it's great. Barbara directed it. So.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Anything else, Sarah?
That's it for me. I have access to you whenever I want.
That's okay. Yes, it's true.
Look it up.
She really does.
I was just gonna say the use of music throughout and how you used it and like kind of what you had in your head, like how did that come through fruition?
Well, you were in the class today. Like the music that he sings is all his. Just kind of.
Those are my original songs.
Yeah, the one you do on the piano you did before I even knew you, and I was like playing some of your tapes once. I'm like, what is this Tom Waits song that you have that you haven't done anything with? So.
Yeah, like low rent Nick Cave.
Yes.
But no rent.
Yeah,
Nick Cave.
That's a good thing.
I mean, it's all just people we knew, like bands and stuff. You know, like people you knew. Those are all like Jimmy his
Mhm.
friends and stuff too.
Yeah.
Just a lot of Florida music people, some Chicago music people.
And LA people. Bestial Mouse is like
Yeah.
the main goth band. There's like,
Yeah.
they I actually met through, you see Danny Gallegos in it. He was the assistant director and art director on this.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he died recently, so rest
Yeah.
in peace.
Yeah.
And like, we always talk about, like, so much of this was Danny's aesthetic, too. Like,
Yeah, all the horror stuff, so much of the horror stuff was his.
a lot of the
The
VHS.
shirts, the
Mhm.
VHS posters and stuff. And he performs in the band Cemetery that does that song State Ward that's on the stage in the club. And he knew a lot of these goth bands too,
Mhm.
like
And
Bestial
Bestial,
Mouse.
yeah.
So it was kind of like, we got some people from him. Some people are from a kind of, we know from Florida that make music.
Mhm.
Yeah, some of it was my stuff. So yeah, it was like, kind of like, came from everywhere.
I like my friend's music a lot.
Yeah.
So. And the opening song was actually written by the guy who plays Adam in it. His name's Theodora. So if you ever want to check out his stuff.
Pandora's Box is highly woven into the film.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a
Especially the
skeleton.
original iteration, you know?
What is it? The Louise Brooks Society actually did a review a few years ago, and I
Oh,
found
really?
it by accident. They're
Oh.
like, this film is got Louise Brooks stuff in it. This is great. So,
Oh wow, I really like that. Oh, good, nice.
yeah.
They're like jilted
Yeah, they
with
were
people
like,
like, oh my god.
Did I answer your question, Jimmy?
Yes.
You got another one? Oh, yeah.
I was kind of curious about the Pandora's Box thing because I know, like, I saw the production
Mhm.
logo on your other films, and you have like a whole other film of Pandora's Box.
Well, what is it? That's actually like the spin-off of Video Diary, like TV pilot. I always think it's like the Frasier to the Cheaters. And it is, you know, I did that movie, I think, yeah, you talked about it in the class where it was like really the purpose of it was to get a new camera that was
Get
the
that
one
money,
that
yeah.
shot on Killer Makeover so I could finish another movie. So it was like written, I'm like, you know, I have this person, I have that person, I want to hang out with them, let's make it work somehow. So that's, but the Pandora's Talkbox thing was something where Chris was doing his Mr. Transylvania stuff, and we have the Triskells and Chances, another short movie, and, sorry. I'm getting tired.
No, it's
Sorry.
okay. And it was your project. It was like, you know, you wanted to do something. Lindsay did a musical project that was, you know, intertitles from sound films, and then she would sing them and bring TVs to the shows, and it was a very multimedia performance
You carried the TVs
thing.
a lot, I
I
appreciate
did carry
that.
those fucking TVs a lot. And then, so like kind of Pandora's Talkbox seemed like the right, you know, kind of name for that project. And I think from there, it's like, that kind of became your identity a bit,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And this even kind of bleeds into this with like a repurposing of the silent stuff and whatnot. And I feel like it's become a good name for you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it did start in kind of like the music scene, you know?
Yeah, I really
Run
was
with
just
it.
like jealous of Chris and their friends at Triskells. I'm like, I want to do something like that. So,
You know?
jealousy's strong. So,
And look what it did. Took you all the way here. Took you all the way back to UCF.
I was going to say full circle.
Yep.
So, a perfect circle, you might say. Is that the answer?
I really like that. I haven't seen that in a Q&A that much, where someone just goes, does that answer it? After like,
No, there's always that awkward pause. I'm like,
That's
are we
good.
done yet? Does
That's
someone
good.
else?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I'll take
Well, I appreciate it. I think we have to probably wrap it up.
Yeah, we
because
have
it's late
ADR
and
tomorrow,
fucking
so.
tired. Thank you so much for.
Oh,
I
I'm
just have
lost.
one more. I'm not like that knowledgeable on your like career, I guess. So like,
It's not.
yeah, I could probably just Google it. But like, what have you been like working on since, and like, where can I watch it? Kind
Sarah,
of
you want to
thing.
come up for this?
Oh, I guess.
So
Oh yeah, we
Sarah-
said you were part of the
Mhm.
Q&A, Sarah. so-
Sarah is the lead in our next feature that we've been working on for like 10 years now,
Oh wow.
Yeah.
maybe
A
11.
little less, like more like 8 maybe, 8 years.
Yeah. We shot it at the end of 2015, you know, and
Oh wow.
yeah, so it's like all the experimenting and layering. I pretty much got too cocky with Video Diary. I'm like, if I could make that, I can make anything. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh shit, this is a lot. So I didn't realize it.
So yeah, the new film is like even more elaborate.
Mhm.
But Sarah and I wrote it with our good friend Phil Chernick and Lindsay, and it's like
Another UCF.
another UCF alum,
Mhm.
and just been working on that, and it's a really big undertaking, but I also think it's very impressive and worth the time. and we're here to do the ADR. Or
Yeah.
but Sarah,
Finally.
We're sort of wrapping it up now.
yeah,
Mhm.
And
But,
Killer Makeover has a lot of the green screen
Yeah.
work
More
that
green screen. Yeah.
we see Lindsay sort of experimenting with here, and a lot of like model work too.
yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I think
It's
I've
very
like
intricate.
evolved with it. So
Yeah, Lindsay's really developed an. Well, don't want to let any cats out of any bags, but
Mhm.
it's evolved, and I think it's a really incredible look. You know, but yeah, that's what you've been working on. I'm a film writer. I'm a film critic. I write about film. So is Sarah. We're both writers. I also make my own films, and I also just have a day job. You know, I work in TV. I'm a producer. I work on a lot of Food Network shows. If you've ever seen the show Worst Cooks in America, I work on that show all the time. I'm
you
the,
narrated.
He's the voice.
I'm the voiceover
Worst cooks
guy.
in America. Everybody.
That's my baby. That pays the bills, you know, and I like what I do, and I like to, you know, make something that's nice and fun for people, and then like, you know, make whatever crazy shit I want to make, you know, I think it works out very well.
Speaking of Killer Makeover, we're doing the ADR now, and we may need some voices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the info on that? What
Yeah.
are we gonna be in the-
So Jimmy, well, we're actually doing all the kind of minor, you know, extra characters that need ADR on
Yeah.
Friday or no Saturday.
Basically, anyone who happens to be around Friday and Saturday and wants to come by the ADR studio, which is kind of like, I don't know if you have access to the Advanced Media Lab. It's like within there. I don't know if you have a way to get in touch with me. Like Alan has my contact info and Jacob's got it. You can let me know if you're around and if you want to like lend your voice and, you know, be immortalized in underground
I
film
can list off the
history.
characters written in my
We have a lot of like extra just people to do the voices for. So like, you know, there's like a doo-wop band,
Hey,
stuff like
that
that.
might be the role for you.
Yeah.
If you think you can go, waiter.
Yeah,
No,
and we
no,
talked
no,
to some
She's a
people.
bitch.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's my line. What is it? Yeah, so we have
Bring
like,
that back. None of this is in the movie.
What is it? So real quick, the characters. What is it? It's
You sure you want to do this
There's
right
no
now?
context
Yeah,
for this,
no, I'm
but go
tired.
for it.
So a singer who's kind of like a doo-woppy group, you backup singer if you're into that, and kind of like, you know, has some fun outside a diner. And then there is lady at diner who's like, where's my soup?
Yeah.
And there is a mean
There's
girl.
Mean Girls. Yeah, the
Mean
Mean Girls
Girls
are
are
juicy.
great.
This will be
Girls are very
good.
catty.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There is a boss at the salon, which we're on the fence about ADRing, but we're going to do it as a backup anyway. And he is like in a full leopard suit. You know, he's like, what does he say? He's like,
It
you
don't
gotta take a
stink.
shit?
You gotta take a shit, take it to the hardware store down the street.
Yeah.
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 That's
Yeah.
one of Sarah's great lines. But,
Yeah.
Anyway, he's sleazy. He's a sleazy boss. There's a lot of different roles.
Yeah, so come on by if you're here and you want to do it. It'll be fun. We have good snacks.
Yeah.
We got some good craft
That
services.
honest.
Yeah, get in
Have
touch or
hummus.
just, you know, come by.
Yeah, that's right.
The
Hummus can
ultimate-
bring everyone down.
That's what brings everyone together.
But to wrap it,
Yeah.
just to wrap us
Yeah.
up, like, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank
Appreciate
you.
you
Yeah,
watching.
thank you.
Yeah,
guys
thank
for
you.
coming by.